it's not entirely unpleasant.
Hello, Marvel fans. For years, fans feared we'd never see Charlie Cox don the Daredevil suit again after Netflix's cancellation. But now, Daredevil Born Again is here, and Marvel is proving that Matt Murdock's story is far from over. The first 2 episodes are packed with intense action, emotional gut punches, and Easter eggs that connect not just to the Netflix series, but the larger MCU as well. From Foggy's shocking fate to Bullseye's deadly return, and Kingpin's rise to power, this series is already setting the stage for one of Daredevil's most brutal battles yet. So grab your billy clubs, because we're about to break it all down. Spoilers ahead. After Netflix lost the rights to Daredevil, many thought we'd never see Charlie Cox as Daredevil again. But Daredevil Born Again is here, and the first 2 episodes are intense. Let's break down the details and Easter eggs. Spoilers ahead. If you haven't watched the premiere, go borrow someone's Disney Plus password now. The episode starts with the screen splitting to reveal the streets of New York, symbolizing the Born Again theme of the series. We see Matt Murdock, Foggy Nelson, and Karen Page leaving their law firm, Nelson, Murdock & Page, which they founded at the end of the 3rd Netflix season. They head to Josie's bar, run by Josie, Susan Vaughn. At the bar, Karen tries to flirt with Matt, but he reminds her about their pact to remain friends. Meanwhile, Foggy has a conversation with Assistant District Attorney Kirsten McDuffie, Nikki M. James. In the comics, McDuffie and Matt had a romantic relationship and formed a law firm. In the show, they are just friends. Foggy mentions that he used to work at Hogarth, Chow & Benowitz, the law firm headed by Jerry Hogarth. Detectives Angie Kim, Rui Boken, and the retiring NYPD detective Cherry, Clark Johnson, are also at the bar. Kim previously played Hope Schlottman's roommate, Marcy, in the first season of Jessica Jones. Detective Cherry might be a loose adaptation of NYPD Officer Cherry from the comics. A news segment on the bar TV mentions White Tiger stopping a robbery. White Tiger was played by Camar de los Reyes, who passed away from cancer in 2023, and episode 2 is dedicated to him. In the comics, Hector Ayala, the White Tiger, first appeared in 1975 and was Marvel's first Hispanic superhero. He gets superhuman abilities from the White Tiger amulet, channeling the Tiger God. The amulet has been passed down to other characters in the comics, including Hector's niece Angela Del Toro and his sister Ava Ayala. Cherry complains about how superhuman heroes like Daredevil and White Tiger are making regular police officers feel obsolete. This hints at the growing resentment towards superhumans in the MCU before the mutant saga. Regular people are starting to fear being replaced by enhanced individuals, which could lead to hate and xenophobia. Foggy gets a call from a client named Benny, and Matt, using his enhanced senses, realizes Benny is in trouble. Matt suits up as Daredevil. The scene is framed with his head inside a circular church window, giving him a halo effect. However, Benny was actually setting a trap for Matt, leading him to Benjamin Poindexter, aka Bullseye, Wilson Bethel, who was introduced in Daredevil Season 3. Bullseye kills Foggy with bullets. Before that, he pins a fly to the wall with a paperclip, a nod to Colin Farrell's Bullseye in the 2003 Daredevil movie. Bullseye's gloves have a bullseye symbol, traditionally found on the character's forehead in the comics. Bullseye shoots Foggy, killing him. Daredevil arrives and fights Bullseye in a long, seamless fight sequence inside Josie's bar. Matt can hear Foggy's heartbeat fading away, which references a similar scene in the comics. Devastated by Foggy's death, Matt throws Poindexter off the roof, survives the fall, likely due to his enhanced physiology from the surgery he had after Kingpin paralyzed him in Season 3. A surgeon named Dr. Kinji Oyama injected him with cognium, a fictional smart metal that replaced his vertebrae. This is a nod to the original Bullseye from the comics, Lester, who had his spine, skull, and fist injected with adamantium by Dr. Kinji Oyama. Colin Farrell's Bullseye also had surgery after falling from a building in the 2003 movie. Matt takes off his mask, revealing his identity to the retiring detective Cherry. As Daredevil's mask falls, one of the horns is broken off, symbolizing Matt losing a part of himself. The opening title sequence shows statues crumbling and reforming into a new Daredevil statue, representing rebirth. The crumbling statues include Daredevil's mask, Kingpin's head, Lady Justice, Grace Church, Kingpin's fist, Lady Justice's scales, an NYPD badge, the Nelson, Murdock, and Page sign, and the Statue of Liberty's head. The Daredevil Born Again title card features the New York City skyline, making the red text look like blood or paint, hinting at the villain Muse. This series features a villain obsessed with morbid art. The title Born Again references the Daredevil story arc from Daredevil number 227 to 231, but the series doesn't heavily borrow from that storyline. Netflix's Daredevil already covered many of its major plot points. Marvel Studios mainly uses the name, which is fitting considering they revived Charlie Cox's Daredevil after the Netflix show's cancellation. 1 year has passed since that fateful day. Matt Murdock attends Bullseye's sentencing. A Spectrum News report on the New York City mayoral race plays on TV. Spectrum News has appeared in several Marvel Studios and Netflix projects, and is a key reason Wilson Fisk is running for mayor, as shown at the end of the Echo TV show. Wilson Fisk, played again by Vincent D'Onofrio, eats a healthy breakfast and chooses a suit, opting for a mayoral look instead of his iconic white suit. His wife, Vanessa, played by Ayelet Zurer, who replaces Sandra Day Holt after Kevin Feige's restructuring, wears a white power suit, suggesting she's taken over Fisk's operations after his arrest in Daredevil Season 3. Deborah Ann Wool, Karen Page, and Eldon Henson, Foggy Nelson, were initially not involved before reshoots. Early reports indicated Feige wanted his Daredevil to be a slightly tweaked variant of the Netflix version, sharing the same history. However, he seemingly reversed this decision to make the series a proper sequel to Netflix's Daredevil Season 3. The scene opens with Ilya Repin's painting Ivan the Terrible and his son, Ivan, on November 16, 1581, depicting Ivan the Terrible's regret after killing his son in a fit of rage. This reflects Kingpin's own past abuse from his father, but instead of the father killing the son killed the father. Wilson interrupts Vanessa's meeting with the 5 families, including the tracksuit mafia from Hawkeye. He informs Vanessa he has enough signatures to run for mayor, beginning their plans for city domination and rebuilding their marriage. The reflection on the table frames Wilson Fisk with a halo, fitting his theme of being a demon in an angel's clothing, the opposite of Daredevil, an angel in a demon's clothing. A series of man-on-the-street interviews features Jaina Walton's Bibi Urich, niece of Ben Urich, who was killed by Kingpin in Daredevil Season 1. Before heading to Bullseye's trial, Matt visits his new law firm, Murdock & McDuffie, originally called Kristen, McDuffie, and Murdock in the comics, with Matt's name in small letters as a joke. At the trial, Bullseye is sentenced to life in prison following Matt's statement. Matt pauses when he sees Karen Page, who has traveled from San Francisco to see justice for Foggy. Matt and Karen discuss their lack of communication after Foggy's death. Karen gives Matt his broken horn from his old Daredevil mask before leaving. Later that night, Matt is cooking in the dark, with a red light flashing outside, symbolizing the city's cry for Daredevil's return. Seconds later, Wilson Fisk announces his mayoral candidacy on TV. At his campaign headquarters, Sheila Rivera, Fisk's campaign manager, and Buck Cashman, played by Rich Brinkley, are introduced. Buck Cashman, also known as the villain Bullet from Daredevil number 250, was a government agent who worked for Fisk, performing hits. He possessed unexplained super strength, speed, and durability. Here he appears leaner, and is working as one of Kingpin's campaign workers by the name of Daniel Blake, played by Michael Gandolfini. Daniel Blake supports Cashman's claim that Kingpin doesn't need to change his messaging, and Kingpin seems appreciative, but suspicious of Blake's enthusiasm, needing to be cautious. Meanwhile, Nikki McDuffie secretly sets Matt up on a date with Heather Glenn, played by Margarita Leviva. Heather Glenn is a love interest of Matt Murdock from Daredevil number 126, 1975. The character was also mentioned in the 2003 Daredevil film as a breakup voicemail. The next day, Matt has a date with Wilson Fisk at a local diner, where he warns Fisk that he'll be watching him. Fisk warns Matt that, as mayor, he'll prosecute all masked vigilantes to the fullest extent of the law. Fisk's mayoral run mirrors the 2022 Devil's Reign story arc, which inspires the series. In that story, Kingpin announces the Powers Act, arresting anyone performing superpower vigilantism, something MCU Kingpin dislikes after his ex-daughter-in-law nearly killed him. The episode ends with Fisk being lit up by white city lights, and he is ordered for Vanessa to stick around to save their marriage. Episode 1 ends with Matt in the glow of red lights, foreshadowing a clash between Daredevil and Kingpin. Episode 2 begins with Kingpin, his wedding ring hand on his head, thinking about his marriage before addressing New York City after his victory. His speech is broadcast in Times Square during a New Year's celebration. Advertisements for the Pim Van Dyne Foundation, run by Hope Van Dyne from Ant-Man 3, are visible, and the foundation is handing out New Year's hats. There are also ads for Rogers the Musical. During his speech, Kingpin mentions that the city doesn't need vigilantes like the Punisher, wearing skulls, or Spider-Man, in a spider suit, referencing both Punisher and Spider-Man. Matt Murdock listens to the broadcast, and he hears someone nearby respond negatively to Kingpin's win, saying they'd rather move to Boston, and expressing dislike for the Celtics. Meanwhile, Hector tries to stop 2 men from beating someone up at the 168th Street subway station. He doesn't have his white tiger suit and amulet. One of the attackers is killed by a train after trying to push Hector onto the tracks. Hector is arrested, charged with murdering a police officer and attacking Siegfried and Roy in 2003. After the intro, Wilson Fisk sits at his desk, thinking about his abusive father, Bill Fisk, and his father's love for former Mayor Fiorello LaGuardia. Wilson complains about meeting with District Attorney Benjamin Hauber, a character from the Daredevil comics. Later, Hauber faces off against Matt and Hector in court after Matt agrees to represent Hector. Matt overhears corrupt cops beating Hector at the precinct. The judge orders Hector to be held without bail. Matt asks Cherry and Kirsten to visit Hector's wife and get her support for the trial. Cherry finds a picture of a little girl in Hector's bedroom. It's possibly Hector's sister, Ava Ayala, the current White Tiger in the comics, or his niece, Angela Del Toro, the second White Tiger after Hector. Cherry also finds Hector's White Tiger suit and amulet, leading Matt to confront Hector about leaving out this important detail. Matt then hears a priest referencing John chapter 1 verse 29. Here is the Lamb of God who takes away the sin of the world, and decides to find the partner of the deceased cop who arrested Hector. Matt overhears the cop planning to kill the man Hector saved. Matt gets to the man, Nicky Torres, before the cop does, and leads him out the window to be a witness. Two corrupt officers arrive, one with a Punisher skull tattoo. Wilson Fisk makes a public appearance, filling a pothole. He then threatens the police chief to prevent his resignation, using information provided by Ben Urich's niece, Bibi Urich, who is a reporter. Bibi tried to ask Wilson about his wife, Vanessa, but was shut down. Wilson is in therapy with Heather Glenn, who Buck Cashman discovered after attending her book signing for her book, Live Without Fear. Before meeting Buck, Heather is approached by a sketchy boy named Bastion, played by Hunter Doohan, who asks her to be his new patient. Bastion is likely the future supervillain Muse, who in the comics is an inhuman serial killer who creates art from the corpses of his victims. He hides his presence well from sensory-dependent Daredevil. It's unlikely he'll be an Inhuman in the MCU. His presence could spell trouble for Heather Glenn. So this was the first and second episode of Daredevil Born Again. What you guys think about it? Let me know in the comments section, and subscribe to the channel and join the Marvel fans community. See you in the next one.